Afternoon and welcome to Webb County Court of Law 2. I'm Victor Villarreal, judge of your Webb County Court of Law 2. This is a continuation of a bench trial. The cause is Father Ed Kircher Apartments versus Alfredo Montemayor Jr., cause number 2025 CVD 74L2. Present in person are Ms. Garcia, counsel for plaintiff, Ms. Guadalupe Canales, present in person. Counsel for client, defendant Alfredo Montemayor Jr. Ms. Garcia, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Canales, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
When last we left off, Ms. Canales, you were cross-examining witness Maria Mata. Please bring in that person.
Actually, Your Honor, I'm gonna just stop my questioning of Ms. Mata and we can just proceed to the next witness.
All right, please.
Unless you're, well, I guess,
Do you have anything on redirect for Ms. Mata?
No, sir.
All right. You can inform Ms. Mata that she is no longer needed to testify. She's free to come in and watch or she's excused. Who is your next witness after that, Ms. Garcia?
Maria Vega.
Please, and bring in Ms. Vega, please.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object to Ms. Vela being a witness. She was not listed, she was not listed in the notice of termination dated March 20th, 2026. And unless a person a person's violation is listed, or I guess unless a person is listed as one of the complaining parties in the notice, then that person cannot testify at trial. This is the person.
Says who, how, or where. Tell the court where you're finding that guidance.
Joanne.
I'll believe you, but just tell me where it says that.
Well, I cannot, it all boils down to the notice of the violations against the tenant.
So let me put it to you this way. I'm going to have this person come in and testify right now, unless you can give me a statute, a case, an authority that says that they can't. I'll believe you that they can't, but you need to give me something. Do you want to provide me that information?
Within 10 or 15 minutes. But
No,
we
you
can
should be
proceed.
ready right now. Bring in Ms.
Yes,
Vega,
we can
please.
proceed.
Ms. Garcia, remind the court, does Ms. Vega require Spanish language interpretation?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Rodriguez will begin Spanish language interpretation now. Ms. Vega, please have a seat here on the witness stand.
Señora Vega, por favor, tome el estrado de el testigo.
Ms. Vega, you've been called to testify.
Señora Vega, se le ha llamado para testificar.
The lawyers will be asking you some questions.
Los abogados le harán ciertas preguntas.
Please listen to the translation before responding.
Primero escuche la traducción antes de responder.
If one of the lawyers objects, please pause your answer. I'll let you know if you can answer.
Si alguno de los abogados hace una objeción, haga una pausa antes de responder y yo le daré la instrucción si es que usted puede contestar.
If you can, please bring your person close to the microphone and bring the microphone close to you.
Por favor, acérquese al micrófono lo más posible para que dé su respuesta.
And bring the microphone close to you, please.
Y acerque el micrófono hacia usted. Señora, mueva su silla hacia adelante.
Ms. Vega, look at me.
Señora, vea al juez, acerque su silla hacia adelante y acerque el micrófono a su boca.
Ms. Garcia, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Vega, can you please tell the judge your full name, please?
Señora Vega, por favor, diga su nombre completo para el juez.
María Teresa Vega,
María Teresa Vega.
Where do you live, Ms. Vega?
¿Dónde vive usted, señora Vega?
en calle del Norte, 1406, calle del Norte, apartamento 108.
Calle del Norte, 1406, apartment 108.
Who is your next door neighbor?
¿Quién es su vecino?
El señor Montemayor,
Mr. Montemayor.
In what apartment number does he live?
¿Y en qué número de departamento vive él?
en el 109.
En 109.
Who do you live with, Miss Vega?
¿Usted con quién vive, señora Vega?
Sola,
Alone.
How old are you?
¿Qué edad tiene usted?
77.
76.
Can you describe to the court what kind of problems you've had with Mr. Montemayor as your neighbor?
Leading, objections,
Sustained.
How many times has Mr. Montemayor bothered you as a neighbor?
again, objection, leading,
Sustained.
Do you have any complaints about Mr. Montemayor?
¿Tiene usted alguna queja en cuanto al señor Montemayor?
Uy, tengo muchas.
Many.
Have you ever reported him to management for any behavior he has done to you?
¿Alguna vez lo ha reportado a la administración en cuanto a la manera en que él se comporta con usted?
Sí, yo hice un reporte por escrito.
Okay. Do you remember,
Yes, I made a report in writing.
do you remember when that was?
¿Usted recuerda la fecha de ese reporte?
Parece que fue en enero del 2023.
I
Got it.
believe it was around January of 2023.
If I show you your report, will you remember?
Si yo le muestro a usted su reporte, ¿usted lo recordará?
Lo que escribí ahí,
What I wrote there?
Yes.
Sí.
bueno, pues sí lo recuerdo.
Yes, I do recall.
Your Honor, if I can bring up Bates number 28, please.
We-
828.
Court staff will prompt.
It's 828 and 829, and I will mark that as Exhibit 6, sorry. Ms. Vega, I want you to look at the screen, the big screen or the screen right in front of you.
Señora Vega, necesito que vea la pantalla, ya sea la pantalla grande o la pantalla que está frente a usted debajo.
¿Aquí en la mía?
Whichever one you can see better. But
La
you
que
need to
usted
bring
pueda
the
usted
microphone
mejor.
¿La leo?
I'm sorry.
Translation.
Do I read it?
Let me ask you some questions, okay?
Déjeme hacerle ciertas preguntas.
Ok.
Do you recognize this document?
¿Usted reconoce este documento?
Sí, yo lo escribí.
Yes, I wrote it.
What date does it have on the top right corner?
¿Qué fecha tiene arriba a la derecha?
Enero 3 del 2024.
January 3rd of 2024.
If the court could please scroll down so she could see the rest of the page and into page 829, please. And if that could be translated.
Por favor, vea la página. Se está scrolleando hacia abajo para que usted pueda ver la carta de manera completa.
Ms. Vega, is that the letter that you wrote to management in January of 2024 complaining about Mr. Montemayor?
Señora Vega, ¿es esta la carta que usted escribió en enero del 2024 haciendo una queja sobre el señor Montemayor a la administración?
Sí,
Yes.
Was what you wrote in there true and correct at the time that you wrote it?
¿Lo que usted escribió ahí es cierto y correcto en el momento en que usted lo escribió?
sí,
Yes.
Is this a true and correct copy of the letter that you submitted to Father at Kircher Apartments Management?
Esta es una copia correcta y verdadera de la carta que usted le dio a la administración de Father Ed Kircher?
Sí,
Yes.
I'd like to admit Exhibit 6 into evidence, plaintiffs A28 and A29.
Any objection?
No,
A 28 to A 29 is admitted without objection.
Thank you. If we can go back to page A28 at the top. Thank you. Ms. Vega, at this time, I would like for you to read your letter to the judge.
Señora, en este momento me gustaría que usted leyera su carta al juez.
a ver. Edward Kircher, a quien corresponda. Soy la señora María Teresa Vega. Lamento darles esta queja, pero ya es mucho lo que yo he aguantado por considerarlo en la situación en que se encuentra el señor Montemayor. Este señor pone la música muy fuerte desde las 5 de la mañana y él está afuera del departamento sentado en la banqueta.
Translation, please.
Father Ed Kircher, to whom it may concern, I am Mrs. Maria T. Vega. I am sorry to give you this, this complaint, but it is too much what I have been enduring in consideration of Mr. Montemayor's situation in which he finds himself in. This man puts music very high since 5 a.m. and he's outside, sitting outside of the apartment in the sidewalk.
You may
Please
con-
continue.
Continúe.
I believe you left off with where it starts el día.
Creo yo que terminó de leer o iba a empezar a leer donde empieza la palabra del día.
El día 26 de diciembre, yo le llamé a la policía porque el policía llegó y yo le dije que la razón de la que llamé y el policía habló con él y el policía me dijo que estaba borracho. Este señor hace muchas cosas incorrectas. Se pone en su silla pegado a mi puerta. Yo no puedo tener la puerta abierta porque él tose y escupe mucho y todo su mal humor se me mete a mi departamento.
Translation, please.
On the 26th day of December, I called the police. When the police arrived, I told them the reason of my call, and the police spoke to him. The police told me that he was drunk. This man does many incorrect things. He puts himself in his chair next to my door, and I cannot have my door open because he is coughing and spitting, and all of his bad odor goes into my apartment.
I'm sorry. If we can continue with the next sentence, please. Where-
Continúe con la
Este-
siguiente. Continúa con la siguiente oración.
Este señor, desde que se cambió, empezó a timbrarme muy temprano y yo le dije que no me molestara. Y él me decía, ya levántate. Y así lo siguió haciendo hasta que yo le hacía ya no le hacía caso y no abría yo la puerta.
Translation.
This man has, since he changed, he started to ring my doorbell very early, and I told him for him not to bother me. And he would tell me, get up. And I would tell him, and he would continue doing it until I told him, scratch. And he would continue doing it until I no longer opened my door or would make paid attention to him.
If we can continue to the next sentence, please.
Continúa la siguiente oración.
Yo le dije que no me molestara, pues, no le hacía caso y no abría la puerta. Fue cuando me amenazó que él tenía algo con que abrir la puerta y se iba a meter. Yo le dije, ¿y tú crees que yo me voy a quedar con brazos cruzados? Y él me contestó, para cuando pidas ayuda, yo ya hice lo que quise contigo. Yo sinceramente le tengo miedo porque para mí este señor está loco.
That's when he threatened me, and he told me that he had something to open my door with and that he was going to go in. I told him, and you think that I'm going to just sit here with my arms crossed? And he answered, when by the time you asked for help, I will have already done whatever I wanted with you. I sincerely I'm afraid of him because for me, this man is crazy.
Thank you. Is that the end of your letter?
¿Ese es el fin de su carta?
Sí, gracias por su atención.
Yes, thank you for your attention.
And is it signed at the end? If we could scroll down.
¿Y está firmada al final?
Sí, María Teresa Vega.
Yes, María Teresa Vega.
And that is your signature, correct?
¿Y esa es su firma, correcto?
¿Cómo dijo?
How did you say?
And that is your signature, correct?
¿Y esa es su firma, correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Vega, everything that you read to the judge, is that everything that happened that day in 2024 that you reported to the management?
Señora Vega, todo lo que usted leyó para el juez es lo que pasó en esa fecha y lo que usted reportó a la administración.
Sí,
Yes.
2 years later, are you still afraid of Mr. Montemayor?
2 años después, ¿aún usted tiene miedo del señor Montemayor?
pues ya no tanto, pero tengo mi puerta bien, según yo, con una alarma.
Not that much. But now I have my door with an alarm. That's what I think.
Did his threats to you in January of 2024 affect your enjoyment of your apartment?
Las amenazas que le hizo él a usted en enero del 2024 afectaron la manera en que usted disfrutaba de su departamento.
Pues sí, porque en esos momentos yo siempre estoy desconfiada, no tengo confianza, pero yo en mi departamento estoy muy a gusto, muy conforme. Nomás la presencia de él que está ahí.
Well, yes, in those moments, I feel like I'm not I don't feel safe. I don't feel security. But inside of my apartment, I am happy. It's just his presence there.
Did his presence affect your sense of security in any way?
La presencia de él afectó la manera en que usted se sentía segura.
Sí,
Yes.
Is he the sole reason why you got an alarm on your door?
¿Esa es la única razón por la cual usted tiene una alarma en su puerta?
sí.
Yes.
Have you had any issues with any other tenants in all the years you've been living there?
¿Usted ha tenido algún problema con alguna otra de las personas que vive en los departamentos?
No,
No.
When you reported Mr. Montemayor to management, did they take any action against him?
Cuando usted reportó al señor Montemayor a la administración tomó alguna acción en contra del señor Montemayor?
no me informaron, pero me dijeron que tenían que hacer algo por medio de la carta.
They did not inform me, but they told me that they were going to do something due to the letter.
If Mr. Montemayor would be evicted, would you feel safer living at Father Ed Kircher Apartments?
Si el señor Montemayor es desplazado de los departamentos, ¿usted se sentiría segura?
Oh, sí, claro.
Oh, yes, of course. Not on the
Into the
record.
record.
Microphone is off, not on the record.
You're not on the record, and turn on your microphone, please.
Mr. Ktu, I've seen Mr. Ktu make facial expressions to the testifying witnesses and nodding.
For the record, who is Mr. Cantu?
Mr. Ktu is the defendant, the person right next to him is Garcia. And I'd like to ask the court to instruct him not to make any facial expressions, any kind of, communication to testifying that would give a testifying witness a reason to testify either way. No, either pursue that kind of
So instructed on the record, and I will be diverting my attention to multiple parts of the room from now on. Thank you.
And I would just say that I have not noticed Mr. Ktu fidgeting, moving around, doing anything. I've been looking at the monitor and have not noticed.
For that reason, I just let the instruction stand as is. I thought I had two, but I will pay closer attention. All right, well noted. Any other questions, Ms. Garcia?
I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination, Ms. Canales.
Ms. Vega, right? Is Ms. Vega,
Mande.
other than the time that you wrote this letter, January 3rd, 2024, did you write any other letters to management regarding Mr. Montemayor's conduct?
Señora Vega, además de esta carta que usted escribió en enero del 2024, ¿escribió usted alguna otra carta en algún otro momento a la administración?
No,
No.
So it's true that after this incident in January 2024, you ceased having problems with Mr. Montemayor to the point that you didn't find it necessary to file any more claims or complaints?
Objection, Judge, misstating the facts. When she first testified, she said that she complained many times, but only once in writing.
I think it should be overruled, but let me hear the question again.
I guess I'll rephrase it. You testified that you filed a complaint against Mr. Montemayor regarding loud music, him sitting outside at 5 o'clock in the morning and one time appearing drunk. How often did this happen since January 2024?
Usted testificó que una vez que usted archivó esa carta con la administración en cual usted menciona que él estaba borracho, que él ponía la música y que estaba fuera desde las 5 de la mañana. ¿Cuántas otras veces sucedió esto después de que usted dio esa carta?
yo no dije que estaba borracho. El policía fue el que me dijo a mí.
I didn't say that
señores.
he was drunk. The policeman told me that.
So that was the only incident you had against Mr. Montemayor then?
Entonces, ¿ese fue el único incidente que usted tiene en contra del señor Montemayor?
Bueno, ese fue porque lo reporté, pero los problemas eran muy seguidos, muy a diario se podría decir.
But
Eso, that was the only time that I reported him, but the problems were daily.
so actually you didn't find it necessary to continue complaining about Mr. Montemayor then?
Entonces, ¿usted no pensó que era necesario continuar quejándose del señor Montemayor?
Sí, sí podía haberme seguido quejando.
Yes, I could have continued filing complaints.
Did you file any other complaint in writing?
¿Y usted archivó alguna otra queja en escrito?
No,
No.
Did you, so after that incident, isn't it true that you began to feel safer, better?
¿Y es cierto o no que después de ese incidente usted se sentía mejor y más segura?
porque yo dejé de salir al patiecito al frente y también procuré siempre estar con la puerta cerrada.
Because I stopped going outside to the front patio and I always kept my door closed.
Hasta la fecha estoy así.
To this day, it continues this way.
Has Mr. Montemayor's conduct caused you to get sick enough to go see a doctor or a nurse?
Objection, relevance, judge. It is not our standard to meet that any tenant has had to go to the hospital or has had to seek medical attention in order to meet the standard that repeated minor violations of the,
I agree. What is the objection?
it's irrelevant.
Sustained. Next question.
I have no further questions.
Anything on redirect?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Ms. Vega, if Mr. Montemayor is evicted from his apartment, would you feel comfortable in leaving your apartment?
Señora Vega, si el señor Montemayor es desalojado de su departamento, entonces usted se sentiría mejor en salir de su departamento?
Sí,
Yes.
If Mr. Montemayor is evicted from his apartment, would you feel safe enough to unlock your door and keep your door open during the day?
Si el señor Montemayor es desalojado de los departamentos, ¿usted se sentiría lo suficientemente segura para abrir su puerta y dejarla abierta durante el día?
sí.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Any other questions, Ms. Canales?
No, none, Your Honor.
Ms. Vega, thank you for your testimony. You may step down.
Señora Vega, gracias por su testimonio. Puede bajar del estrado de testigos.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Ms. Garcia, who is your next witness?
My next witness is Joanne Arriaga, and
Do-
we will no longer need interpretation, Judge.
At all for any other witnesses?
Correct.
Same question to you, Ms. Canales. Does your client does your client or any of your witnesses, if any, require Spanish language interpretation?
No, Your Honor, Mr. Montemayor is the only witness and he's fluent in English. But hopefully, he'll be understood when he speaks.
All right, please bring in Ms. Arriaga and thank you for your interpretation services. Ms. Rodriguez, you continue on now, just solely as a court recorder. Thank you. Remind the court to your recollection, Ms. Garcia, Ms. Canales, the court did give this witness and all witnesses an oath yesterday, did it not?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Arriaga, please make your ways here to the witness stand. Have a seat. Bring your person as close to the microphone as possible and bring the microphone as close to your mouth as possible. The lawyers will now be asking you some questions. I'm going to ask that you pause and listen to the full question before you respond. If you hear one of the lawyers make an objection, just pause your answer and I'll let you know if you can answer. Do you have any questions?
No.
When you're ready, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Arriaga.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the judge what your full and complete name is?
Joanne Arriaga.
And Ms. Arriaga, how are you employed?
I am the site manager at Father Ed Kircher.
How long have you been employed as a site manager?
They're at Father Ed Kircher for 3 years.
Since 2023?
Yes.
And what are your job duties?
I am the one that I renew the contracts. If I receive complaints, I'm the one that, run the apartments.
Do you talk to tenants on a regular basis?
Yes, I do.
Are you at the property? daily?
Yes, yes.
What hours are you there?
It's Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
Okay. And how do you know Mr. Montemayor?
He is a tenant there at Father Ed Kircher.
And in your position as site manager there at Father Ed Kircher, have you received complaints about Mr. Montemayor from other tenants?
Yes.
Can you identify for the judge which tenants those have been?
It's Mr. Mata, Jose Luis Mata,
Mhm.
and Ms. Mata,
Mhm.
and Ms. Vega.
Okay. You don't have personal knowledge of any complaints prior to the time that you worked there, correct?
Correct.
Have you reviewed files? Well, let me ask you this. Is it part of your job to review files of tenants for prior complaints?
Yes.
Okay. Have you reviewed any files that identify prior complaints about Mr. Montemayor prior to your employment?
Yes.
There have been complaints.
Mhm.
Okay. Since you started working there, have there been any complaints about any other tenants at the property?
No.
Just Mr. Montemayor?
Yes, just Mr. Montemayor.
And the tenants that have complained are his direct neighbors, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall where you were on July 2nd, 2025?
Yes, I was in my office. Mr. Mata walks in telling me that he was he got hosed down by Mr. Montemayor.
Prior to July 2nd, 2025, had you received a similar complaint from Mr. Mata about Mr. Montemayor?
Yes.
Okay, so on July 2nd, 2025, what did you do next?
On July when Mr. Mata did the complaint,
Yes.
so I went outside and I saw Mr. Montemayor. He still had his the water hose in his hand, and I went up to him to speak to him and just to let him know that he can't be doing that. He can't be wetting our tenants.
And what was his reaction?
Well, as soon as I turned around, he did it. I turned around back and he did it again in front of me.
You saw him,
Yes, I did.
and what did you see him do?
Get the water hose and he sprayed him.
Sprayed who?
Mr. Mata.
What was Mr. Mata's reaction as a 70-some-year-old man?
He was like, "Viste, like, did you see what he did?" And I'm like, "Yes, I saw." So that's when I told Mr. Montemayor, I'm gonna have to go call main office to let them know what's going on here.
And Ms. Arriaga, you're the site manager.
Mhm.
What is the average age of all your tenants at Father Ed Kircher?
They're 62 and over.
From your observation, communication, and interaction with Mr. and Mrs. Mata on July 22nd and Mr. Montemayor at the time of that incident, how did you observe Mr. and Mrs. Mata reacting to being hosed down outside their apartment?
They were in shock. They were scared. They were like, "Why us? What did we do?" They just couldn't understand why them? Like, why does he like to bother them? To this day.
Based on your observation, your interaction, your communication with them, did you feel at all that Mr. Montemayor's hosing them down posed a safety risk to them?
Yes.
How? Explain to the judge how hosing someone down is the safety risk.
Well, they can fall, they can slip because they can barely, manage to walk. So let's say that he would have, what if they would have slipped? They would have hit their head. It would have been a bigger problem.
As the site manager, do you think this is a serious
Yes,
infraction?
yes,
Do you believe that this constitutes material noncompliance with the lease?
Objection, calling for a legal opinion.
Ms. Arriaga, you haven't been, I don't know that you are, you just haven't been qualified as a lawyer. You haven't testified that you have legal experience. You have testified as your background and your duties. In that, with those parameters, just answer whatever your opinion is as the site manager of this apartment complex. You may answer.
yes,
And do you believe that what Mr. Montemayor did on that day adversely affected Mr. and Mrs. Mata's health
Objection,
and safety?
she's leading the witness.
Let me hear the full question. Don't answer, and then I'll hear the full objection. What is the question?
Based on your experience and your authority as the site manager, are you responsible for issuing out citations or notices of violations against tenants?
Is there objection?
No,
You may answer.
yes,
Is it part of your duty to investigate incidences and call to the attention and possibly give written violations to tenants?
yes,
Do you refer to the lease to give guidance to you as to whether or not a violation is sufficient enough to warrant a written notification?
yes,
After this incident, did you refer back to the lease agreement?
yes.
I'm going to pull up for you. If I could please ask the court to bring up petitioners A9 to A21.
Court staff will prompt A9.
Now I'm going to mark this Exhibit 7. Can we please scroll down through the entire document, and I want Ms. Arriaga to take a look at it as they're scrolling to see if you recognize it.
Court staff will scroll A9 through A21.
And note the dates, please. Continue. Ms. Arriaga, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What document is this?
This is the lease, the contract that we have for our tenants.
Okay, whose lease agreement is this?
Alfredo Montemayor.
Is this the current lease agreement?
Yes,
If we can go back to the first page. A9. What date is that?
July 6, 2021.
And that is the current one, still in effect today.
Yes.
It hasn't been revised or changed.
Correct.
I'd ask and is this a true and accurate, complete copy of the lease agreement?
Yes,
I'd ask that this be admitted to evidence, Judge.
Any objection?
no,
So if
A9 through A21 is admitted without objection.
we can go to page, get that for you. And I apologize, I think this. If we go to page A14. Letter 9D, it's actually highlighted. It's not redacted, it's actually highlighted. I don't know if you look very close, I can read the writing. Can you read the writing?
I cannot read, excuse me, Your Honor.
You can look at mine. Yes, I do. But on my screen, it's clear. It's highlighted. You're welcome to read it here. And it's stamped with a court stamp.
I cannot access it. I don't know what's wrong with my,
No, I can let you read it from my.
Go
It's
ahead.
marked.
I'm not gonna get up. I mean, you go ahead.
Okay. Would you like to see it from my computer?
Yes, I would like to see it.
Ms. Arriaga, can you read what it says on paragraph 9D that's highlighted? And read the whole thing to the end of the highlight, from the beginning to where the highlight ends.
Next.
The term material noncompliance with this agreement shall in this case of tenant include one or more substantial violation of this agreement. Two, repeated minor violation of this agreement which disrupts the availability of the project of adversity, affect the living, the health of safety of any person or the right of any tenant to quiet enjoyment.
You're off the record.
Based on your experience and authority as manager, site manager, what material noncompliance pursuant to this paragraph did Mr. Montemayor's actions constitute here of material
The
noncompliance?
livability of the tenant and the repeated minor violations.
Okay, so number two, repeated minor violations of this agreement which disrupt the livability of the project, adversely affect the health or safety of the person, of any person, or the right of any tenant to quiet enjoyment of the leased premises.
Correct.
Okay. Did you send out a termination letter?
Yes, I did.
Did you talk to Mr. Ktu about this incident?
Yes, I did.
Did Mr. Ktu give you an instruction to move forward with eviction?
Yes, he did.
Did you send a letter dated July the 1st? Let me bring it up. I'm sorry. The July 15th termination letter.
What year?
It's set number 7. A7.
Are you asking court staff to prompt?
Yes.
Court staff will prompt.
Ms. Arriaga, I've marked this document Exhibit 7. I just want you to take a look at it. We can go through it.
Mhm.
If you can go scroll down, please, Ms. Noriega, so she can look at it. Did you prepare that
Yes, I did.
with Mr. Ktu's instruction?
Correct.
And that Exhibit 7 has been revised, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask to prompt now the new, most recent eviction letter, which is Exhibit A975. Yes. A975 through, it's very long, A1014. What is this letter? Ms. Arriaga?
This is, the revised one,
Okay, and revised what?
the lease violation notice.
Okay, did you deliver this to Mr. Montemayor?
Yes, I did.
How did you deliver it to him?
I, hand delivered, I, posted it at the door and I sent it out by mail.
Okay, I'd like to offer this as Exhibit 8 into evidence.
March, are you referring to the March 20th?
Yes, ma'am.
No objection.
A975 through 1014 is admitted without objection.
And just for the record, I want to pull up. A1015 and 16
Court staff will prompt.
as Exhibit 9. Do you recognize that, Ms. Arriaga?
Yes, I do.
On page A1015, what does that picture depict?
That's the, letter I posted on, the door.
And what does that parcel contain?
The lease, the revised, notice
And where was that posted?
on his door.
When was that posted? The date of the letter?
Yes,
Would you agree that that's March 20th, 2026?
yes, correct.
Who took that picture?
Me or Joel?
Does that picture accurately represent you
Yes,
posting on
yes.
that day?
Mhm.
I'd like to offer that into evidence, Judge.
Any objection?
Yes, I do. It's a photograph and she hasn't established the foundation. She has not authenticated this photograph accurately unless the witness can furnish more information.
Your Honor, she testified that she posted that. Contained in there was the March 20th letter, that it was posted on Mr. Alfredo Montemayor's door, and it was posted on March 20th. Either she or Mr. Webb that took that picture. She was there when the picture was taken, and it's a true and accurate depiction of what is posted in that picture.
I'll withdraw my objection.
All right, then it is admitted without objection.
Then we can scroll to the next page, please. I'm sorry, 1016. What is that picture, Ms. Arriaga?
This is me handling, the notice to Mr. Montemayor
When?
on the March the 20th
Where is that?
in his apartment.
And and what was contained in that parcel?
The revised, notice.
March 20th,
Yes, March 20th,
2026.
2026.
And who took that picture?
Mr. Huerta.
Is that an accurate depiction of you delivering that parcel to Mr. Montemayor at his apartment on March 20th, 2026?
Yes.
I'd like to admit that into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Canales? It's admitted without objection.
And
It's
then finally,
A1016.
thank you. And finally, to complete. The receipt for the mailing on page 1017, A1017, if we can pull that up, please. Ms. Arriaga, do you recognize this receipt?
Yes, I do.
Can you explain to the court what this is?
This is the receipt of me when I send out the certified letter.
And when did you, what letter did you send out?
The revised, notice, which was on March 2026.
Okay. And when did you mail this out?
At 2:40, 1 p.m.
Okay. On what day?
on March 20th, 2026.
And you took this
Correct. Mhm.
to the mail?
Yes,
and
I
you
did.
paid for this?
Yes,
And you kept this receipt?
yes,
Did you take a picture of this receipt?
yes.
does this picture accurately represent the receipts that you paid for the first class mailing of March 20th letter to Mr. Montemayor?
Yes.
I'd like to admit that into evidence, Judge.
Any objection?
No.
It's admitted without objection.
For when you witnessed this interaction going on between Mr. Montemayor and the Matas, can you explain to the court Mr. Montemayor's demeanor that day?
He was like, he didn't care. His attitude is that I don't care. No me van a hacer nada. They're not gonna do anything to me.
I cannot hear him, Your Honor.
Go ahead and repeat the answer much closer to the microphone.
That he doesn't care and he doesn't, that they're not gonna do anything to him. Like he can do whatever he wants and nothing's gonna be done. That's how I saw his demeanor.
And
Any objection?
Yeah, I'm objecting, she's characterizing, I guess, how she believes that Mr. Montemayor reacted to that incident. But if it's just her opinion and not anything else, I'm gonna object to her characterization of the event, that incident.
Overruled. It's her opinion. Next question.
Inaudible.
For
Miss Claudia.
she hadn't said anything yet.
Just gathering my thoughts. Ms. Arriaga. Was the July incident between Mr. Montemayor and Ms. Mata one of the bases for termination of Mr. Montemayor's tenancy?
Yes.
What was the other basis?
Prior incidents that he had, one was with Joel.
Okay,
He interfered in the maintenance landscape.
do you know when that is?
That was in February 2025.
Okay. Do you have, the lease noted some house rules that are part of the lease agreement, is that correct?
Correct.
Can we pull up A26, please?
Court staff will prompt.
Are these the house rules that are part of Mr. Montemayor's lease?
Correct.
Can we go, I'd like to offer this into evidence, A26 as exhibit 11.
Any objection?
I'm objecting, Your Honor. It's, she hasn't laid any foundation as to whether it's an accurate, given.
Sustained.
Okay. Can we show her the full document, please?
This is a 2-page document.
No, it's a 1-page, I believe. Oh, no, it's 2-page, I apologize.
A26 to A27.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Is it part of your job to be familiar with the house rules?
Correct.
In July of 2025, were these the house rules in effect?
Yes.
In January of 2025, were these the house rules in effect?
Correct.
Is exhibit 11 with documents A26 and A27 a true and accurate depiction of the house rules in effect at Father Ed Kircher Apartments between January 2025 and July 2025?
Correct. Yes.
I'd like to admit that into evidence, Judge.
Any objection?
No.
It's admitted without objection.
With regard to Mr. Webb, what house rule did Mr. Webb violate?
Who?
I mean, I'm sorry,
Montemayor.
With regard to the accusation by Mr. Webb, what house rule did Mr. Montemayor violate?
I believe it was.
If we can go back up to the
if I'm
first
not
page,
mistaken, it is,
scroll down, please.
number 11.
For Mr. Webb,
Wait, what that is? Oh, no, it was number 6.
number 6. Can you
Mhm.
read that, please?
Oh, no, it's not that one. Hold on.
Do you need to refer back to the termination letter? Would that help you?
It would, with the incident report. Hold on.
Would getting the incident report be helpful to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me get that.
Oh, yeah, it's house rule number 16. Tenant will allow management to perform project deferred maintenance programs such as fumigation, repairs such as remodeling, landscaping, services that are being scheduled throughout the year.
Okay. And with regard to Mr. and Mrs. Mata, what rule did he violate there?
Mr. Montemayor,
Yes.
he was interfering with the landscaping, with Mr. Huerta's landscaping. job.
Right, but with regard to Ms. Mata, the incident in July,
Oh, for Ms. Mata,
Ms. Mata and Mr. Mata.
that would be the house rule number. The livability of the tenant.
And what number is that? I think it's one that's highlighted.
Yes, it's the one that's highlighted.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination, Ms. Canales.
Miss Arriaga, did you get any training for this job at the time you were hired? And how to perform your duties?
Objection, relevance, Judge?
Overruled, you can answer.
I was trained in main office before I was transferred to Father Ed Kirch. So yes.
What kind of trainings did you get and where did you go for that?
Well, we do go trainings throughout the year. So we do trainings in San Antonio.
And these are offered by HUD?
Yes.
And do they, just overall, what kind of what do they teach you? Like regarding what?
The lease violation, the HUD regulation, anything to do with HUD.
Are you the person who writes up the notices of terminations for the clients, for the tenants?
Yes.
Does anybody review them before they're given to the tenant?
Yes.
Who does?
I send them out to main office.
Where?
Main office.
Where's the main office?
It's the Via San Luis.
Is there a person that you direct these leases to?
Yes.
Who is that?
It's Alexandra Rodriguez.
And what is her position?
She's an occupancy specialist.
Occupancy, what?
Specialist.
And so she reviews your proposed lease terminations or notices and any changes made, you go ahead and revise the notices?
Correct.
Was she also the person who read the notice that's dated July 15th, 2025?
Correct.
Yes?
Yes, correct.
Did she ever go to any trainings
Yes, she
offered
has.
by HUD?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Are you, do you have any in issuing these notices of lease violations? Do you confer with Mr. Tomas Ktu before you issue these notices?
Correct.
Is there anybody else that you confer with before you do that?
No.
And are you also in charge of recertifying tenants for the continued residency at the place?
Objection relevance. The recertification judge has to deal with their income and being able to acquire federal funds for rent. Has nothing to do with lease violations, Judge.
Relevance, Ms. Canales?
Your Honor, there was a lease that was that my client signed in 2025. And we're trying to establish whether that was really the last contract. This recertification is almost the equivalent of a re-signing of a lease. So I guess I'm gonna rephrase my question.
And just for the record, Judge, that is absolutely, completely inaccurate.
Well, it may or may not be, but she withdrew the question, so
Okay.
you may proceed with whatever other questions you'd like.
Well, I differ with Ms. Garcia, but let me go on. Ms. Arriaga, did you also review the notice of termination dated March 20th, 2026?
Can you repeat it again?
Were you also the person who wrote that letter of termination, the notice of termination that's dated what is it, March 20th, 2026?
No.
You didn't?
If I rewrote it or
If you wrote it, yes,
we revised it, yes. Yes,
you wrote it.
yes.
When you have conferences or when you conferred with how many let me reword. How many conferences have you had with tenants regarding any allegations of misconduct by Mr. Alfredo Montemayor?
How many conferences?
Yeah, like how many times did you meet with tenants regarding complaints against Mr. Montemayor? For the last year, let's go.
Maybe 3, 4,
One,
3 or 4.
three,
Because,
or four.
yes,
Can you remember all those for the past year?
well, it's been the Matas and Miss Vega. And I have this recent one that complained about Mr. Montemayor.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I had a recent one that just complained about Mr. Montemayor.
How recent was that?
It was in 2025. It was after July. After
Okay.
July's incident.
Do
you remember the basis for that lease violation?
Objection
alleged-
relevance, Judge? Well, I'd like to get into Mr. Montemayor's other violations. It's not relevant for today's.
What is the
proceedings.
relevance to any other violations?
Let me pose another question. Do you remember offhand, since you've been in this job position, how many times you met with Mr. Alfredo Montemayor regarding tenants' complaints against him?
Like 2 or 3 times. We have verbal conversation about anybody. If anybody complains, I do go up and talk to Mr. Montemayor. Just to let him know that I have had complaints about him.
At the time that you meet with Mr. Montemayor, the last time you met with Mr. Montemayor to I guess have him be recertified for continued residency there, did you give Mr. Montemayor a list or any document that outlines his obligations and duties as being a tenant?
Objection relevance, Judge. Again, recertification is only recertifying his eligibility to receive federal funds.
You are not.
And the last time we were in court, we advised the court that deadline was coming up for the next term, for the next year, and that my client would continue to comply with federal law to provide him those documents so that Father Ed Kircher would not be in violation of any federal regulations pending the outcome of this case.
Let me rephrase my question.
Okay.
Ms. Arriaga, are you aware that HUD requires you to have Mr. Montemayor or any tenant sign off on the receipt of a list of attendance, obligations, and duties that you're aware of?
Objection relevance, Judge? It doesn't tend to prove
relevance.
or disprove.
What's the relevance?
No, tenants in public and federally subsidized housing must receive copies of their duties and obligations on how to conduct themselves as tenants. If a tenant is not given a list of the obligation and the rules, you really cannot hold them to to a standard where he has to abide by something that he doesn't think
Let's assume you're absolutely right for a second. If there was a recertification, it isn't, the complaints aren't the basis of this action. If there was, and I don't know, because there still isn't any evidence or testimony that there was a recertification. Ostensibly, if there was a recertification, that would be for violations from that day going forward, would it not?
Well, it's a separate proceeding,
Right, so it
Oh.
would be a separate proceeding. Sustained. Next
So-
question.
but sometimes as part of a recertification meeting, the clients or the tenants are given certain documents.
I think to Ms. Garcia's point, and I'll let you address it if you have a response, this court would like to hear it on the record, but to Ms. Garcia's point, let's assume that there was a recertification and there's all these new rules and standards and procedures. Ostensibly, that would have happened after the date this complaint was lodged. So again, to the objection, what would be the relevance of the recertification to this case?
It just would be it would just, inform the court as to when was the last time that Mr. Montemayor qualified to continue living there. And if the subsidized project saw no need to cancel any kind of continued being qualified to remain there, then they cannot complain.
Court finds the information is irrelevant. Next question. Sustained. Next question.
Are you aware or informed of a HUD form that's numbered 8750-8750?
Objection, Bay.
Sustained. You can rephrase.
Ms. Arriaga, you said you underwent some training by HUD, and you've been there, I guess, those trainings several times. At any time were you told that you had to have the tenant sign a form showing that he or she received a list of the duties and obligations of being a tenant in those federally subsidized projects?
Yes, the acknowledgement form, which he signs every time he renews his contract.
So you do remember that Mr. Montemayor got one of those forms to sign?
Yes,
Do you have a copy of that by any chance?
it should be in the.
So since you've been there, you never saw a need to, other than lease violations, saw a need to cancel any kind of, well, no, I'm gonna withdraw the question. Let's see. I have no questions.
Anything on redirect?
No, sir.
Ms. Arriaga, you may step down.
Your Honor, may we get a bathroom break?
Yes, court
Sure.
will stand at ease for a few minutes.
All right. All right.
He's here. Court is back in session, back on the record. This is the bench trial of Kircher Apartments versus Montemayor, cause number 2025 CVD 74L2. And last we left off, Ms. Canales was about to cross-examine and then forewent that. That was the end of Ms. Arriaga's testimony. Ms. Garcia, do you have any other witnesses?
Just Mr. Ktu, Tomas Ktu, my client.
Remind the court, Ms. Garcia, was Mr. Ktu sworn in?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ktu, you may have a seat here on the witness stand. I won't repeat the instructions. I think you've heard them over the course of multiple witnesses. So as soon as your client is seated, you may proceed, Ms. Garcia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ktu.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the judge your full name, please?
Tomas Ktu,
And can you please explain your role with regard to Father Ed Kircher Apartments?
the housing administrator.
And who is the owner of Fred Kircher Apartments?
Father Ed Kircher, I represent the ownership.
Okay, and and Father Ed Kircher Apartments is the landlord, correct?
Correct.
Are you familiar with Mr. Montemayor?
Yes.
What unit does he occupy today?
I'm sorry.
Do you recall the unit that he occupies today?
Mr. Montemayor, I believe is like maybe 109, 110.
Okay, 109 possibly?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Over the course of his tenancy, about how many complaints would you say Father Ed Kircher has received regarding Mr. Montemayor?
Sustained.
Has Father Ed Kircher received complaints about Mr. Montemayor during his tenancy?
Yes.
Overruled.
Inaudible.
The objection was leading. The objection was overruled. Just make sure your microphone is on and speak close into it. Next question.
About how many complaints would you say have been lodged against Mr. Montemayor during his tenancy at Father Ed Kircher Apartments?
We've had a lot of complaints. There's been a lot of complaints.
Other than the ones you heard in court, have there been others?
Yes.
Have they only been in writing?
We usually act upon the ones that are in writing. However, if there is a complaint that comes in, we do attend to it. We go speak with both parties and hopefully reach a resolution and let them know what the complaint, what the nature of the complaint, and we hope that it doesn't happen again.
Have you received verbal complaints?
Yes.
Does Father Ed Kircher address every verbal complaint as well?
Yes.
Can you describe to the court how you address verbal complaints against Mr. Montemayor?
We would, Joanne, the site manager, or whoever the site manager is, will go speak with Mr. Montemayor. And sometimes when it's needed, I also go and attend those meetings.
Have you had occasion to talk to Mr. Montemayor about the written complaints against him?
Yes, written complaints requires me to get involved.
Has Father Ed Kircher ever attempted to evict a tenant before Mr. Montemayor?
I've never had an eviction at Father Ed Kircher until now.
You heard Ms. Arriaga's testimony, correct?
Yes.
And just to summarize, she testified that the basis for the eviction was regarding the Mata's complaint in July 2025, Mr. Webb's complaint in January
Objection.
2025. Is that correct?
What is the objection?
This,
That's based on testimony that was made. If you're asking whether that was the testimony, the court will take notice. Next question.
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree that that's the basis for today's request to evict Mr. Montemayor,
Yes,
those two bases.
yes,
And is that contained in exhibit? I'm sorry, is that contained in the termination notice that we sent to him on March 20th, 2026?
yes.
If we can pull up exhibit A, Judge, which is A975. It's already been admitted into evidence.
Court staff will prompt.
Mr. Cantu, do you see what is on the screen?
Yes,
For the record, this is A975 through A1014, Exhibit 8. Can you tell the court what you understand this document to be?
it's a tenant notice of termination of the lease agreement.
Okay. If we can go down, and what's the date of that?
March the 20th, 2026.
Okay, if we can go to the first paragraph. If you can read to yourself that first paragraph. Does this document provide a lease termination date?
It does.
What is that date?
March 20th, 2026.
And can you read into the record the next bold sentence?
See handbook section 8-13, section B, procedures terminating tenancy and providing notice.
Okay, can you read the sentence right after where it says lease termination date, March 20th, 2026, lease termination date? The next sentence.
Should you remain in the unit on the lease termination date, the landlord may seek to enforce the termination in court, at which time the tenant may present a defense. Persons with disabilities have a right to request reasonable accommodations to participate in the hearing process.
And it does have a cite to the HUD handbook, correct?
Correct,
So is this in compliance with that section of the HUD handbook?
correct.
If we can go, if we can continue, the basis for lease, basis for termination of lease. Do you recall Ms. Arriaga's testimony where she read the relevant part of paragraph 9 of the lease dealing with material noncompliance?
Yes,
Can you read, did you agree with her testimony that the basis for the eviction is based on Mr. Montemayor's repeated minor violations of the lease agreement which disrupt the livability of the project, adversely affect the health or safety of any person or the right of any tenant of the quiet enjoyment of the lease premises and the related project facilities, interfere with the management of the project or have an adverse financial effect on the project?
yes,
Okay. Do you also agree with her testimony that there were violations of the House Rules numbers 11 and 6?
yes.
Okay, if we can go to the next page, please. This is page A976. And if we can continue to go to the following page, A977. If we can go down a little bit. Right there where it says first event. You heard Mr. and Mrs. Mata's testimony with regard to what happened, what they say happened on July 15, 2025, correct?
Correct.
Did you have occasion to talk to them
Yes,
about the incident?
yes,
Did you have occasion to talk to Ms. Arriaga about the incident, who was also there?
yes,
Now, is it part of your duty to investigate what happened when there is a written request?
yes,
Did you investigate as you're supposed to?
yes.
Now, based on your interaction and communications with Mr. and Mrs. Mata and with Ms. Arriaga, what is your understanding of their complaint on that day?
On that day, the complaint was on two levels. It had to do with loud, boisterous yelling, noise-related complaint, and then it had to do with physically watering Mr. and Miss Mata down.
Now, from your investigation or communications with them, in your opinion, as the manager in charge on representing the landlord, does the alleged actions of Mr. Montemayor constitute a minor repeated violation
Objection, Your
of the
Honor,
lease
she's leading
agreement?
the witness.
Overruled, you can answer.
Throughout the 5 years of Mr. Montemayor's tenancy, there have been various lease violations. And at this point, it was, we needed to take action. So yes, there have been many repeated minor lease violations.
Do you, what is your opinion with regard to the reported actions of Mr. Mata against Mr. and Mrs. I'm sorry, let me repeat that question. Based on your interaction, communications, investigation as the manager for the land, with regard to the incident on July 15th, 2025, do you believe that the accusations against Mr. Montemayor adversely affected the health or safety of Mr. and Mrs.
Objection.
Mata on that day?
She's leading the witness.
Overruled, you can answer.
Our housing project has elderly people, and elderly people are very susceptible to falling. And if we're blessed to still have our parents around, we know how delicate and dangerous that can be. So in this particular case, with the hosing down of Mr. and Miss Mata, it posed a great concern to me as property ownership. And we just can't have that kind of action happening there.
Now, with regard to the same actions that Mr. Montemayor is accused of by Mr. and Mrs. Mata, in your opinion, based in your role and authority as the manager, do his actions affect the right of a tenant to the quiet enjoyment of their property?
Yes, most definitely.
Now, with regard to the hosing that he's accused of, could that have somehow had a financial effect on your property?
Absolutely. If Mr. and Miss Mata had slipped and broken a hip, slipped and hit their head and bled out, there's numerous, it's just not a good thing. And I don't want to have to go through medical lawsuits and insurance claims and all that kind of stuff. It's just, we cannot have this.
Had he been accused of that before?
Has
Mr. Montemayor been accused of that before?
Mr. Montemayor has, in previous occasions, has been told about the loud noise, because the loud noise situation is something that has been repetitive. The hosing down of a neighbor, this was the first occasion.
That you know of?
Yes.
Now, if we can go back to page 978. A978, it's part of Exhibit 8. A978, correct. I think it's document 23, if that helps. Okay, okay. Okay. Beginning of 975. Let me look at my list. Well, Ms. Noriega, tries to pull that up, Judge. Can I continue with some questions?
You may.
In that March 20th, 2026 lease termination notice, does it have a second event of default for the
Yes,
eviction?
yes,
Do you recall what event that was, other than the Mr. and Mrs. Mata?
yes.
Which one was that?
It had to do with the interference of our routine maintenance of the landscaping with our maintenance technician, Mr. Joel Huerta.
Okay, from your recollection, what was that complaint about?
That Mr. Montemayor would not allow him to do his landscaping duties.
Now, how does that affect, I'm sorry. How does that affect the project management in any way?
It adversely affects it.
With Mr. Montemayor not listening to the instructions of Mr. Huerta, as the representative of the owner, what are you concerned with?
I'm concerned.
She's leading the witness to testify as to certain issues.
Overruled, you can answer.
I'm concerned, number one, about Mr. Montemayor's safety when we're using powered equipment, in this case, lawnmowers, weed eaters, blowers. And number two, I'm concerned about Mr. Huerta being able to do his job, because there's a lot of other things that we have programmed during the course of a day and then in the course of a week. And when we're not able to do what we need to do, it throws us behind in different areas.
In your opinion, as the manager or the landlord, were you at all concerned that Mr. Montemayor could have been hurt?
Yes,
How could that have affected the landlord?
the same way as the Matas getting hurt.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand him. The same way what?
Mr. and Miss Mata could have gotten hurt by Mr. Montemayor spraying them down if they had fallen and hurt themselves. When Mr. Huerta is using his landscaping equipment, Mr. Montemayor could get hurt from flying debris or slipping.
If I could prompt again, Ms. Noriega, the document page 978, if that's available. If we can go down to the bottom of page 978. Now, here we noted prior repeated minor violations. Do you see that?
Yes,
Okay. Has Father Ed Kircher Apartments previously in writing given notice to Mr. Montemayor of his violations of the lease?
yes.
Okay, so I want you to read on the bottom of page 978, May 1st, 2021. Can you read what is written there with regard to the May 1st, 2021 violation? Read it for the court for the record.
On May 1st, 2021, you received your first lease termination notice. You were in violation of House Rule number 9 and House Rule number 28. You contacted Trash Co., the contracted trash disposal contractor for our project. You verbally harassed and threatened Trash Co. employees and wrongfully demanded performance of trash services that you had.
We can go to the next page, 979.
No right to demand. Your harassing, aggressive, and threatening behavior caused Trash Co. to nearly terminate their contract agreement with the landlord. Your harassment, aggressive, and threatening behavior constitutes material noncompliance violations of the lease agreement. You were notified of such.
And it says see exhibit 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay, if we can please go to that exhibit 1. Get that number. It is A982. 8, I'm sorry, A982. A982, just a few pages down. It's a little fuzzy, but do you see page A983, Mr. Ktu? Do you see the date there?
Yes.
And then in the middle of the paragraph, or the middle of that page, it says complaints.
Yes.
Can you read where it says complaints into the record?
On April 28, 2021, our office received a complaint about you calling and harassing the office staff at Trashco. Please be advised that it is our office responsibility to contract any company we hire to do maintenance or service to our property, and not the tenant's responsibility to be calling. We ask that in the future, if you should have any concerns or complaints, to report directly to the office management, Ms. Silvia Fuentes.
Can you read what violations were allegedly violated by Mr. Montemayor in the next paragraph?
The lease violated House Rules number 9. The violations were House Rules number 9 and number 28.
And then in the next paragraph, do you notify him that these actions constitute repeated minor violations of the lease agreement?
Correct.
Okay, and can you explain to the court why it was important to let him know that this was a violation?
It was important for Mr. Montemayor to know that these violations could eventually lead to an eviction and him leaving the property.
With him calling Trashco in the manner in which Father Ed Kircher alleges, how is that affecting the apartment complex?
Well, we almost lost a contractor who does routine maintenance, helping us keep the property safe and sanitary.
Now, you were attempting to evict him this time, correct?
Yes.
Why did you not evict him?
We sat down, we spoke, and I believed that he was going to start conforming and behaving the way he needed to behave as a tenant moving forward. So I decided to let the eviction process go.
If we could go back, Ms. Noriega, to page 9. Right up.
Council, could you check your microphone? You sound
Oh,
far
I am.
away.
Yes, I apologize. I'm closer now. Ms. Noriega, can you please go back to page 9? A979. This is the lease termination letter, March 20th. Okay, so do you see on that paragraph where it says October 12th, 2021?
Yes.
Can you read what that lease termination letter says on that paragraph, please?
On October 12th, 2021, you were notified in writing by a lease violation notice non-compliance of house rules that your actions and behavior against fellow tenant Maria Mata, which occurred on October 6th, 2021, in which you physically threatened her with a weed eater while she watered her grass and yelled expletives at her in a loud, aggressive, harassing, disrupting, and threatening manner which disrupted the livability of the project and adversely affected the health and safety of Ms. Mata, which in turn adversely affected her quiet enjoyment of her abode. You were notified that if you were in violation of House Rule number 22, you were specifically notified in writing that this episode constitutes a minor violation of the lease agreement that amounts to material noncompliance of the lease agreement, which constitutes grounds for eviction.
And you provided that written notice, correct, to him?
Yes,
If we could please go to page A986. Just below. What is the date on that lease violation notice, noncompliance of house rules document?
October 12th, 2021.
Can you please go down where it says material noncompliance with the lease? And do you see right under it where it says no compliance of house rules?
Correct.
What house rule was noted?
22.
And can you please read what the note says right below there?
Violations are classified as material noncompliance or classified as a minor violation. Repeated minor violations constitutes cause for eviction.
What does the next sentence say?
You may refer to page 3 of the lease agreement, number 9, subsection B and D, which references termination of tenancy due to material noncompliance.
In your opinion, was this notice to Mr. Montemayor of material noncompliance?
Yes,
Okay, if we can go back up, please, one last time, Ms. Noriega. To page A989, I believe it was. I'm sorry, A979. Where it says January 18th, 2023. Do you see that?
yes.
Can you please read what this March 20th lease termination letter states with regard to January 18th, 2023?
On January 18th, 2023, you were notified in writing by a lease violation notice of noncompliance of house rules that your actions and behavior against fellow tenants, Maria Mata and Jose Mata, which occurred on January 17th, 2023, in which you wrongfully entered their area of the project, cutting grass and spraying water on their window in a loud and aggressive manner at 6 a.m., affecting their sleep, repose, and quiet enjoyment of their abode, constituted material noncompliance with the lease agreement. You blew leaves and weed on their property, adversely affecting their area of the lease premises and related project facilities. You also turned on your radio loudly and harshly at 6 a.m. with the obvious intent to disrupt the peace, tranquility, and quiet enjoyment of Mr. and Ms. Mata. As a result, you disrupted the livability of the project, as adversely affected the health and safety of Mr. and Ms. Mata, and adversely affected their quiet enjoyment of their abode. You were notified that you were in violation of House Rule 6, 7, 11, 16, and 22. You were specifically notified in writing that these episodes constitute a minor violation of the lease agreement that amounts to material noncompliance of the lease agreement, which constitutes grounds for eviction.
Can we please go to page A988, Exhibit 3? Right there. What is the date of that lease violation notice noncompliance of house rules document, Mr. Ktu?
January 18th, 2023.
And right in the middle of that document, it says material noncompliance with the lease, correct?
Correct.
And it says no compliance of house rules. Can you read for the court's record the house rules allegedly violated by Mr. Montemayor? You see the list of the house rules?
House Rule 6, 7, 11, and 16.
Can you read the note right below there?
Violations are classified as material noncompliance or classified as a minor violation. Repeated minor violations constitute cause for eviction.
And the next sentence, can you please read that into the record?
You may refer to page 3 of the lease agreement, number 9, section B and D, which references termination of tenancy due to material noncompliance.
So these three prior written notices of his prior minor violations notified him that continued repeated actions could constitute eviction, correct?
Correct?
Are you asking the court to evict Mr. Montemayor today?
Yes.
Are you asking the court to issue a writ of possession within 3 days?
Yes.
Are you asking the court to also have award to you all the money on deposit that he's been depositing for his rent that you have not received?
Yes.
What was the question again?
Are you asking the court to sign an order to release all the money on deposit that he's been paying into the registry of the court for rent that you have not received?
Yes.
Okay, I want to just go back to the notice letter just so I can go over some HUD requirements. Can we go to page A980? It says 10 days notice to discuss termination, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you read into the record what that says?
HUD regulations require that you contact our office no later than March 30th, 2026, which is 10 days from the lease termination date, if you wish to discuss the termination of tenancy with the landlord.
Does this comply with HUD regulations?
Yes?
And then right below it says Violence Against Women Act, VAWA. Do you see that?
Correct.
And there is a notification with regard to VAWA, correct?
Yes.
Do you believe that this is in compliance with HUD regulations?
Yes.
And federal regulations?
Yes.
Can we go to Exhibit 4, which is page A993? Is the proper disclosure for Violence Against Women Act attached to the lease termination notice?
Yes, it is.
And so Father Ed Kircher has complied with that requirement as well, correct?
Yes, we have.
Can we please go to page A980? Yes. At the bottom of the page, A980. Do you see where it says notice to vacate?
Yes.
And what does it say on the notice to vacate?
Notice to vacate. Deadline to vacate 30 days from the date of notice of termination.
Please read the first paragraph on page A981.
Be advised that if you do not vacate your unit by April 19th, 2026, an eviction proceeding will be filed against you in the Justice of the Peace Court in Webb County, seeking your removal from the premises. The landlord has determined that the eviction procedure will grant you a hearing that will provide you the basic elements of due process should you decide to contest this action.
Do you believe that this complies with the Texas Property Code and the lease agreement?
Yes,
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Mr. Ktu, how long have you worked for your current employer?
16 years,
16. And in your current position, how long have you worked?
16 years.
Did you also get training from HUD as to how to run an apartment complex of this type?
Yes,
Do you oversee, or do you supervise Ms. Arriaga?
yes,
Who else do you supervise,
the rest of the staff,
which includes?
maintenance, office personnel, other site managers.
Do you investigate every notice of lease termination?
Yes,
Do you respond in writing to the tenant who is the focus of the investigation?
yes.
You issue with a report, or what is it?
We issued lease violation notices, if not a notice to vacate. We address whatever issue comes across.
You have testified that Mr. Montemayor's conduct created a financial or adversely affected your apartment's financial status. And you said that there was so you mentioned Mr. Mata slipping and your insurance, your apartment insurance paying for that injury. Is there any other effect that his conduct has created for the apartment complex regarding the financial status?
I think you misinterpreted my response.
Objection, to the question, it misstates facts and evidence.
Sustained.
How has Mr. Montemayor's conduct affected the financial structure of the apartment complex?
My written lease violation notices and the termination of tenancy state exactly what the violations are. And I don't remember putting there anything about anything happening financially yet.
So is it true that Mr. Ktu's conduct has not resulted in any loss of income for the apartment?
I haven't received his rent in about 10 months.
Well, it's in the court's registry. Has the apartment suffered financially because of his alleged misconduct?
Ms. Canales, he's disrupting the peaceful livability of the other tenants, and his actions can lead to financial responsibilities on my part.
But so far you cannot describe any.
I think we're blessed that we haven't had any, we haven't gotten affected financially by Mr. Montemayor's actions.
You mentioned that you had a complaint from Trashco Company about Mr. Montemayor interaction with some of their employees. Do you know why Mr. Montemayor complained to Trashco?
Ms. Canales, if Mr. Montemayor has a complaint, the procedure is to address it with the site manager, and then we're gonna act accordingly.
Okay. Do you remember receiving any calls from Mr. Montemayor on that issue? Regarding Trashco?
I'm gonna object, Judge. That is not the basis for eviction. The only reason we bring that up is to prove to the court that he had notice that he has been in violation before, so that we can move forward as repeated violations of the lease agreement.
Well,
That's all.
Let me hear the question again.
I'm trying to figure out whether, you know, what is the gist of the complaint that y'all have against Mr. Montemayor in Mr. Montemayor's interaction with Trashco Company? I mean, what did he do to the company that ended in this violation being issued? This
Judge?
notice violation being issued?
Again, those documents were provided in the lease termination notice,
Oh,
not
I
because they
think
are
we,
required by law to be included. There is no lease provision, there is no HUD handbook provision that requires us to identify in the lease termination what prior violations he have, but in order to be fully comprehensive, we included that.
I think the court heard the answer to the question. If you want to ask the question, you can lodge it. I'll hear a response and then we need to move on. If you understand the question, you may answer.
Mr. Ktu, you mentioned that there were numerous complaints, I suppose verbal, but so far you're testified as to only 5 lease violations. Isn't that true? That were outlined in that March 20th, 2026 letter. Notice of lease termination.
The lease, notice of terminating tenancy is based on 2 incidents.
And can you describe what dates?
One of them was in February or March with Mr. Huerta, and the other one was in July with the Matas.
So during the last 5 years, is it true that you have received only 5 written complaints of Mr. Ktu's misconduct, alleged misconduct?
I don't know if there are 5. We would have to count them, but we've gone through a few of them today. They may add up to 5. But what I can tell you is there's been many other complaints that we've addressed with Mr. Montemayor verbally.
So isn't it true that most of the complaints, or that most people complaining didn't see it important enough to submit a written complaint then?
Objection calls for speculation.
That you know?
Don't speculate. If you have an opinion, you can give it. Go ahead.
Mr. Ktu, isn't it true that actually there's not enough minor violations to evict Mr. Montemayor? You've only cited 2 that were the basis for the latest notice of termination.
Ms. Canales, how many minor lease violations is required to move forward with an eviction? It's my understanding that 1 lease violation can lead to an eviction. And then if you have 2 or more, don't you think it's a little bit like patient on the part of the landlord having to deal with so many repeated lease violations without taking it any further?
Let me hear a question, Ms. Canales. Question.
So why didn't you see fit to try to evict him 4 years ago?
We did try, but we reached a resolution and we gave him a second chance
Why?
because I believed in Mr. Montemayor.
So actually he didn't reoffend until like, what is it, a year later maybe? That was in 2023?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained. Next
So
question.
actually, you only have 5 complaints of minor lease violations. And you're using those 5 complaints during the last 5 years to try to evict Mr. Montemayor. Is that true?
Objection, misstating
Allow
facts
me
and
to-
evidence.
To, finish the question, please.
Let me hear the full question, then I'll hear the full objection. Don't answer until I rule. Ms. Canales, go ahead.
So isn't it true that you're basing this latest or the only eviction action against Mr. Montemayor on those 5 violations within the past 5 years? Based on your testimony the past half hour.
Again, this is the second eviction proceeding that we have against Mr. Montemayor. And I don't think only 5 is too little. I think 5 is 4 too many.
Mr. Montemayor, what was the gist of that resolution the first time you tried to get rid of Mr. Montemayor?
Objection, relevance, and
Sustained,
objection,
we're not here on that.
argumentative.
Sustained as to the first, next question.
Mr. Mr. Ktu, are you aware that Mr. Montemayor asked for a consideration for to be allowed to, I guess he made a request for reasonable accommodations based on his disability, and you all refused to accommodate him?
No? That's an incorrect statement.
Mr. Montemayor made a request that he be allowed to remain in housing based on the disability and based on his circumstances. And he asked that you all work with the rules and have the discretion to allow him to remain in public housing.
Ms. Canales, all of my tenants, 100% at Father Ed Kircher are elderly. What special accommodation can I possibly give him that I shouldn't be giving all the others? What I did offer Mr. Montemayor was time. I told him, Mr. Montemayor, leave on your own. Tenancy is not an option, but I will give you time.
How much time did you give him?
He didn't want any. He wanted to continue with this process.
Oh. Isn't it true that the lease violations were not that severe to the point that you didn't see fit to try to evict him?
Ms. Canales,
Before this year?
we have house rules. The lease agreement has parameters. If they're violated, we need to issue it in writing. And they're there for a reason. It doesn't make one over the other less important. If it's a violation, it's a violation.
Going back to the reasonable accommodation of disabilities, are you aware that there's a Fair Housing Act out there?
I'm going to object, Judge. He is not an attorney. There's no predicate for any kind of law. I've allowed this to continue to go forward now. It's argumentative. There is no challenge to any basis in any pleading challenging a violation of discrimination, Judge. In this, there's not even anything in the lease agreement that requires my client to give an accommodation or overlook an eviction because a person is disabled.
Your Honor, the Fair Housing Act gives rights to disabled tenants in federal subsidized housing to ask for reasonable accommodations because of their disabilities. And this is part of the trainings that you all get to find out how to run.
I'm going to
The
object to
court
that.
finds,
I'm gonna
the court
object to that.
finds, the court finds that if true, that would have to be pled, and if true, ostensibly, that would be part of a different action, one that would allow for reasonable accommodations. The question before the court is whether to evict or not. The objection is sustained. Next question.
Have you ever Yes, we understand that. I'm not asking you legal questions and, how public housing directors always deal with disabled tenants and they deal with regional accommodation requests by disabled clients, but I'm asking whether you were aware that my client made a request for reasonable accommodations and you denied his request.
Objection asked and answered, and I'm going to object to the argumentative nature of her statements.
That the court has ruled on that same question. Let's move on.
May I just mention something?
No, you may not. You may answer questions. What is the next question?
One last one. I pass the witness.
That is redirect, Ms. Garcia.
Mr. Cantu, does the lease require Father Ed Kircher Apartments to exempt Mr. Montemayor from following the house rules or the lease provisions because he has a disability?
No, but
Okay,
let me.
okay.
Mhm.
Has Mr. Montemayor ever told you that he's unable to comply with a house rule because it affects his disability?
One more time.
Has he ever asked you to change the house rules because he's not able to meet the house rules because of his disability?
No.
I pass the witness.
Anything,
The
any other questions?
Your Honor, I mean, the request for reasonable accommodations was made by my client through me, via me to Ms. Garcia. And she was acting as a representative of Fred Kircher.
And Your
of the
Honor,
Apartments, and
I'm-
so
If,
that,
if true, will you be testifying to that fact?
why would-
Are you going to testify to this fact?
yes.
I'm going to object,
Well,
Judge.
so here's the thing. I've already ruled on that issue. It's not before the court whether there was compliance or non-compliance with that specific federal statute. It's obvious that this, based on that question, the objection and the ruling, this witness can't answer. Now you're injecting facts as a lawyer. And I'm just politely advising you that should you do that, you disqualify yourself as a lawyer and you now enter into a fact witness. If you would like to get that through another witness, you may do so. Any other questions for this witness?
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Anything
mean,
else?
I'm sorry. Are you done, Ms. Garcia?
Ms. Canales, do you have any other questions for this witness? Do you have any other questions for this witness, Ms. Garcia?
No.
You may step down.
Thank you.
Ms. Garcia, do you have any other witnesses?
No, we rest, Judge.
Ms. Canales, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, Mr. Alfredo Montemayor Jr.
I think if your client's going to testify, I believe we can accommodate him since he is in a wheelchair by passing him the microphone in front of him or a hand mic so that he can testify from his location.
No.
All right. Remind the court, Ms. Canales and Ms. Garcia, did the court administer an oath to Mr. Montemayor yesterday?
I don't recall if he was put under oath, Judge.
Just in case you weren't, Mr. Montemayor, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this cause will be the truth, so help you God? Right, you may lower your hand. Ms. Canales, you may proceed.
Your Honor, before we continue, may he use the one in front of him instead of the handout?
All right. Pull the microphone as close to your person and mouth as possible. Ms. Canales, you may proceed when ready.
Can you state your full name for the record?
Alfredo Montemayor Jr.
Mr. Montemayor, I'm going to be asking some questions. If at any time you do not understand my question, please let us know. If you don't, you're not clear about what the question is about, then also let us know. Don't want you to answer a question based on on something else that's
Your Honor,
not.
I'm going to object. I think these are admonishments that should come from the bench, not from the attorney sitting next to him.
Mr. Montemayor, I did admonish you the way I did admonish Mr. Ktu, because you are the two persons other than the lawyers that have sat here through all of the witnesses. But I can do that. Mr. Montemayor, the lawyers are going to ask you some questions. I'm going to ask that you not answer a question until you've heard the full question, and then you can answer. If you hear the lawyers make an objection, pause your answer until I can make a ruling. I'll let you know if you can answer. Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Montemayor?
Well, I understand that I should just answer yes or no. I'm not allowed to say my side to anything.
Well, that is correct. You should answer to the direct question being asked. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Ms. Canales, when you're ready, you may proceed.
If I could, I got a ton of things I could say about Mr. Ktu, but if I don't get the chance.
I object to the sidebar, Judge. There is no question.
Sustained. Ms. Canales, go ahead.
Mr. Montemayor, you heard the testimony from different people who testified regarding lease violations against you. And I'm trying to not repeat.
Objection leading.
Sustained. You may rephrase.
Mr. Montemayor, on February the 20th, 2025, there was a lease, there was a lease, lease violation that was made against you, that you interfered with the job duties of Mr. Joel Huerta.
Objection to the statement, Judge.
I'm just,
Let me hear the full question, Ms. Canales. Go ahead.
Regarding the lease violation dated February 20th, 2025, regarding interactions with Mr. Joel Huerta, do you have anything that you'd want to clarify regarding that incident?
Objection leading. And it's
Sustained.
open-ended.
Sustained. Next question or rephrase.
Do you remember, Mr. Excuse me, Montemayor, that there was a complaint made against you that was outlined in a notice of lease violations dated February 20th, 2025? As it pertains to the performance of work duties by Mr. Joel Huerta?
Objection. I don't think I heard a question, just a statement.
Rephrase, please.
Is it true that you harassed Mr. Joel Huerta sometime during February 2025?
Objection leading.
You can answer. Go ahead.
No, I didn't. It's all being coached by Mr. Ktu and Joanne. Every accusation has been coached by them.
I'm sorry, can you elaborate?
Objection non-responsive.
Overruled. Next question.
Can I elaborate?
You can answer the question as asked by your lawyer, Ms. Canales. What is your next question?
No, it's not true.
Ms. Canales, what is your next question?
Mr. Montemayor, do you remember that there was you were given a notice of a lease violation regarding your interaction with Mr. Joel Herrera, or rather Joel Huerta?
I don't recall the paperwork, but yeah, I remember them calling me to my attention. But nothing ever happened. The fact is, he doesn't even do my area. for the same reason that he doesn't do a good job.
Objection, non-responsive. He's giving a narrative answer to a yes or no question.
Well, you know,
Overruled, next question.
some accommodation because of his speech there, I mean, his speech impediment. I mean,
I would like to do that. What do you suggest the court do?
you know, to give time to Mr. Montemayor to completely answer the question before an objection is filed, you know.
I can't do that. The
Just
objection
allow-
is gonna come in whenever it comes in, but what other accommodations could this court give to Mr. Montemayor?
Well, I've been
Ms. Canales,
listening.
it's your request.
Yes.
What accommodations could this court
Okay,
give your
as I
client?
mentioned, Mr. Montemayor more time to answer a question, because of his speech impediment.
All right.
Asking him, you know, or telling him that he's got the right to ask more questions if, in case he doesn't understand my question or to ask for clarification. And I'm asking that he not be hurried in his response.
Well, I think the second, I don't know about the third, but certainly the second one is fair, Mr. Montemayor. If you don't understand a question, just let me know. We can perhaps ask the lawyers to
Well-
you can ask the lawyers to rephrase a question, but since you're under oath, make sure that everything you answer is honest. And if you don't understand a question, it's okay to say that. All right, next question, Ms. Canales.
Okay, did you complete your answer, Mr. Montemayor?
If I may, yes, I had 4 strokes, but by the grace of God, it hasn't affected my mind. See, I got a speech impairment and swallowing issues, but I understand everything you all say. And directing my answer to Ms. Garcia, you claim you're looking for the best interest of the landlords or whatever, and you keep saying all these negative things about me when you should be looking at your client. Because
All right, Ms. Canales, what is
you're
your next
barking
question?
the wrong tree.
Mr. Montemayor, I'm gonna ask you specific questions. If you can try and answer the specific questions, I know you probably have the urge to spill everything out.
What is the next question, please?
Mr. Montemayor, can you give us any more information that you recall as to that incident of February 20th, 2025?
Objection leading.
Sustained. Rephrase or Ask
About
another
the
question.
question.
sustained. Rephrase or next question, either one.
Mr. Montemayor, did you cause did you give any problems to Mr. Joel Huerta as he was performing some gardening work in your yard?
No,
So what's can you elaborate on that? Can you explain why
Objection call,
they're saying things about you in that case?
nothing.
objection leading, objection calls for a narrative response.
Sustained. Rephrase or next question, either one.
I haven't even said anything when she objected.
So that was February 20th, 2025. Was anybody injured during that incident that they're talking about? Nobody was injured.
No, not at all.
Were you using any gardening equipment on that date during this incident?
No,
Yes? No? Was Mr. Joel Huerta using any gardening equipment, blow dryer or leaf dryer?
yes. If you would tell me to go inside, and before I even go inside, you would say like you can get hurt. And he pointed the lawnmower or a blower at me, shooting debris at me, and at the same time telling me that I can get hurt. So if I get hurt, it's because of you.
can the court reporter understand what he said?
It's being court recorded, so it's a recording.
Um, and so, well, what did you tell him when he did that?
There's one inside.
How many times did that happen?
I can only recall that time. And, okay, can I say something?
Yes.
The time about the talking of Mr. Mata supposedly, I had my spring gun spring. I mean, not a jet spring, like a mist. And there was wind blowing. And you get that cloud.
Into the mic, please.
You get that cloud, water going like that. And she says that time went, she always goes around with a phone in her pocket. And I never seen any pictures. They say I stalked him for the pictures, for the evidence. And I think it's all he said is everything.
Did you do or file a complaint against Mr. Huerta with management?
I'm told him several times, even in the sense of them wanting me to sign for his work he does, which requires a technician, a licensed technician, and he wants me to sign a paper, me acknowledging that he sent a technician. He didn't send a technician. He sent me to do it all. Then
Sustained.
Mr. Montemayor, is that the only complaint that you have against Mr. Huerta? Any other incidents at different dates?
well, just the fact
Is Miss Lanese speaking?
I'm sorry. Objection, relevance. Miss Canales is going into issues that have nothing to do with the basis of this termination.
What is the question and the relevance to this action, Ms. Canales?
The question is, asking Mr. Montemayor if he had any more or any complaints against Mr. Huerta, other than the incident that he just described.
And Your Honor, that has nothing to do with making the facts that we need to prove in this case more likely or less likely with regard to the eviction.
If the court heard this testimony and let's assume that your client testifies exactly the way you think he will, what basis or what impact would it have on the court's ruling? In other words, you tell the court what the relevance is.
You know, they brought up the issue of my client being, I guess, not being courteous to Mr. Huerta, and we're trying to get more information as to that incident, which is true.
I'll allow a questioner to get there, and if you get there, great. If not, just move on. Go ahead.
But
well, there's two sides.
What is the question?
are there any other, and was there any other, did you ever complain to management about Mr. Huerta's behavior towards you?
That was 3 questions ago. The question that she asked was, do you have any other complaints about Mr. Huerta? That was the question I was objecting to.
I understand that.
Fine, I can adopt that. Go ahead.
Yes, there's two sides to a coin. I mean, every time he's complained, I told them about his own attitude. That even other parliamentarians complain about his attitude. They always say, this guy is so sour because you can't tell him anything because he reacts Radically,
Objection to the hearsay, Judge.
the same thing I said about you. Everything he said.
Sustained.
Everything you said.
Next question.
Mr. Montemayor, I'm gonna ask you about your communications with the personnel from Trash Code. There was mention that you verbally harassed them and threatened their employees and demanded service. Can you explain anything else that, I mean, what's your answer to that?
Objection, leading objection calls for narrative.
Can I?
Sustained, you can rephrase. Or ask another question, either.
Mr. Montemayor, can you describe your first, or your general, I guess, interactions with Trash Co. Company?
Your Honor, can I answer that?
Go ahead.
The dumpster got a phone number. So every Wednesday when they pick up, I used to live on the first apartment, 140, kind of right next to the office. So every Wednesday I would walk out and open the gate for the guy to reverse himself and the whole thing. But when I called, the reason was that it was so already overflowing, and the tenants would just throw the bags on the floor all around the dumpster, and this guy wouldn't do anything about it. I would call Transco to at least get him to come pick it up a day earlier or whatever, and being that it's gonna take another 15, 20 bucks extra for him to get Transco to come pick it up, he would deny it. He would leave the whole mess there, causing a health risk for us. And me living there on the first apartment, I used to buy the stickers for a flight. I swear those things, these sites would get all black with flies, and this guy wouldn't do anything about it.
Ms. Canales.
Is that still going on, Mr. Montemayor?
Objection,
going on?
relevance.
I don't get
Sustained.
any.
Sustained. Next question.
How did you get the number to call Trash Co?
It's printed on the dump.
All right, folks, as the court mentioned yesterday, we're going to go till 4:30, and I intend to honor the court's word. So you didn't finish today. I told you that we didn't finish, it'd be sometime in June. But I was looking at the court's calendar. I'm going to open up another setting for this case. You really need to wrap it up. We're going to continue this on the earliest I can do by opening up a brand new setting is Tuesday, April 28th at 11. We'll continue with Mr. Montemayor on direct examination. One of the things that came up at this portion of the hearing was a request, an oral request on the day 2 of the hearing by Mr. Montemayor's counsel for accommodations. And just put on the record, this court prior to that moment had never been asked, never been informed, never been requested either orally or in writing for any accommodations. I have been given word from our court recorder that everything that Mr. Montemayor is saying is audible and understandable. I still have a concern whether it is for purposes of appeal, should this case be appealed. However, any further requests for accommodation should be filed immediately so that the court can assess and make those accommodations, if at all possible at this juncture. And I don't know if they're waived at this point, but if such request is made, it should be made as soon as possible so that the next time he continues to testify during direct examination, Tuesday at 11, the court can at least attempt to accommodate him at that juncture. Anything else before we adjourn, Ms. Garcia?
No, Judge.
Ms. Canales?
No, Your Honor, just to clarify, we're gonna meet again at 11 Monday,
On Tuesday,
Tuesday.
the 28th. That's the absolute earliest I can do by opening up a new setting.
We'll submit something on accommodations.
Right,
Before that.
there being nothing else until we resume, this now concludes this docket held in person and by video conference for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. The court continues to embrace the latest technologies to provide safe and uninterrupted access to justice without delay. Today's docket was made possible by the appearance of counsel and parties and by the assistance, diligence, and preparation of the Webb County Court at Law 2 staff and the employees of Webb County that provide judicial support to the court. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.